production and how it affects our viewers, what it is, its impacts and benefits. Feedlot production accounts for 1/3 of all the beef produced in the United States today. In order to get a clear, unbiased look, we have brought in Hayden Irby from Saddle Six Feedlot in Kansas, Jordan Skogard and Paige Hutton from the Nature Conservancy, Kamisha Morris from the Environmental Protection Agency, and Kelsey Clausen from ConAgra in the meatpacking industry. I'd like to thank you all for being here today. Well, let's start today's show with Hayden Irby. Hayden, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Misty?
I'm good. Well, the question for today is, what is a feedlot and how does yours work in Kansas?
Of course, Misty. At the feedlot, we normally send our cattle out to graze until they have reached 900 pounds. From there, our business feeds out the cattle to a finished weight of 1,200 pounds. Throughout this process, we keep records on the animal's health, weight gain, and feed rations. We use these records that maximize the cattle's rate of gain and in turn helps us be more efficient.
So how efficient is a feedlot?
Well, Misty, by running cattle through the feedlot, we decrease the amount of time it takes to get the product to the consumer. On average, we gain 2.5 to 3.5 pounds per day, which allows us to ship our cows when they're between 15 and 18 months old. However, if we did not provide this process, the average time it would take to get the product to the consumer would be 2 to 2.5 years. Not to mention also quality and uniformity inside cattle.
So by having them in these confined lots would seem to generate a lot of waste. What do you guys do with your waste?
Well, the waste from the cattle is collected through diversion ditches and channeled into a lagoon system to help keep the feedlot clear of becoming a mud hole. We also have crews that help clean pens on a regular basis. The use of manure produced on our fields helps increase crop production in a more natural way. Thus, we reduce the dependency on chemical fertilizers. The whole time we're focused on producing quality products, we're also concerned about the environment.
Concerned?
Seriously? Actually, as a feedlot, we have to meet strict federal guidelines and standards on water quality, soil protection, and runoff to even stay in business. The EPA makes sure we're within the tolerance ranges.
Tolerances?
Thank you, Hayden. I think we have raised some questions about the environment. Jordan, would you like to explain why you're so upset?
Yes, I will. First off, the tolerances set by the EPA do not take into account several factors of contamination. They don't even glance at the soil erosion factor, and along with soil erosion, soil health is a problem. Anywhere a feedlot exists, plant life cannot due to the soil's high levels of nitrates and heavy metals. This is even prevalent after a feedlot has quit its production. It's been estimated that it takes over 40 years for the soil's health to return even close to normal.
Well, Jordan, you've spoken about the effects on soil and plant life, but is that truly the only problem with feedlots?
Well, the truth of the matter is that that is only part of the problem. Another aspect of the pollution is the emission of greenhouse gases committed by these confined lots. It's common knowledge that the greenhouse effect is largely due to the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere.
But what does this have to do with feedlots?
Well, Misty, feedlots contribute to this problem due to so many ruminant animals being set in such a confined area. These animals produce carbon dioxide through the bacterial digestion that occurs when they regurgitate their cud, and it also comes off of the animal species.
So is methane and carbon dioxide the only gases we should be worried about?
Well, along with those two gases comes nitrous oxide, otherwise known as laughing gas. However, this is not a laughing matter. Nitrous oxide is produced along with methane off of the cow species and has the same effect of 392 molecules of carbon dioxide.
Jordan, this doesn't seem to be that big of a problem.
Well, I guess it wouldn't be, except we have increased our feedlot production to the point where feedlots are creating over 18% of greenhouse gases emitted. Cattle and feedlot production harm our environment, and we need to reduce our dependency on these forms of production in order to reverse this process of destruction.
Please, for the environment, we are reducing the impact on the environment by having the feedlots.
All right. Well,
Wait. There's one last thing that I would like to point out. Feedlots aren't exactly known for being humane towards any type of animal. In fact, some feedlots are notorious for neglecting their animals' needs and abusing their stock. There may be standards set by the EPA for feedlots, but they are not monitored properly in order to ensure not only the quality of our environment, but also the lives of our animals.
All right. Well, the environmental effects and abuse seem to be big problems in this industry, but we need to know what the EPA expects feedlots to do. We have Kamisha Morris here with us. Misha, will you tell us what is expected of feedlots for them to stay in operation?
Well, Misty, the EPA has high set standards for the feedlot industry.
High standards? Please.
See, the EPA tracks both the solid and liquid waste, and where and how it is disposed of. Most feedlots have fields where they put both solid and liquid waste. We calculate the exact amount of waste the field can handle, and making sure that everything is followed properly by retesting the soil after the field has been treated. Along with this, we take into account erosion, making sure that feedlots are not built on slopes greater than 4%. With slopes greater than 4%, there is way too much runoff and erosion. We also account for water quality, making sure that all feedlots are at least 250 feet away from any natural water source. These can vary with soil types and conditions.
So you've spoken about they seem to have a lot of regulations, correct?
Yeah.
So what happens if one of these regulations are broken?
Well, if by chance a feedlot breaks a regulation, a warning and sometimes a fine is issued. If the offense is not fixed within a given period of time, an additional fine is issued and the production will be shut down. All offenses are to be cleaned up at the feedlots at their own expenses.
Well, there seems to be a black and white area for water and soil conservation, but what is the EPA doing about gas emissions?
Well, the two major types of emissions are carbon dioxide and methane. As of right now, there are no set standards for the methane production. To help us come up with acceptable amounts of pollutants that can be released into the air, the EPA is doing research on over 28 facilities that represent the factory farming industry. Large livestock facilities don't follow current emission standards because no baseline exists for such operations. As Jordan pointed out, we do need to be doing something about reducing the levels of greenhouse emissions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Feedlots produce fat cattle for the packer. These cattle are then turned into hamburgers, roasts, and steaks. We have Kelsey Clausen here with us from Agra in Troy, Ohio. Kelsey, will you tell us what you find as a packer to be the major benefits of cattle produced in a feedlot situation?
Well, from a packer's standpoint, meat produced in a feedlot is much more consistent, both in our ability to cut the same product and quality of the meat. Beef that are ran through a feedlot take a lot less time to process due to the consistency of the product. Also, because beef from our feedlot finish at a younger age, the carcass will grade better and have a higher quality score. We as packers look for a consistent weight and yield score. We even pay the feedlots premiums for having a higher quality of the meat.
So it sounds to me like you're expecting to process a lot of beef to your plant.
In fact, we are. We as packers process 13,315 head in a single day, and we'll have on demand 8,654,000 pounds to ship out. As you can see, the sheer size of the operation depends upon feedlots. Agra processed just short of 8 million head this past year. Agra is ranked second in the nation, and 60% of the meat comes from 13 plants. By contributing 60% of the meat to the consumers, retail markets charge us to have a higher quality and uniformity of the meat.
So we as consumers should expect uniformity in our product?
Yes, our production ensures that people from across the U.S. get the same quality and uniformity no matter where they live. We as packers would have to keep up with the high demand of tasty and high quality and uniformity in the meat. We have to use feedlots. Our standards are held in check by inspectors from the USDA. If we lose the consistency to feed our cattle to the consistency that we now have, then we also lose the quality of the meat.
Quality? You call it in your own ways quality.
Paige, do you have an issue with quality?
In fact, I do, Misty. How can you people call an animal that is not exercised and made to mass produce quality? The actual health of the meat is far more inferior than you may think. In fact, 90% of feedlot cattle are given growth implants, which enable them to grow 5 to 15% faster. On the other hand, grass-fed or range cattle have higher antioxidants, vitamin E, and better keratin. This is not the case in the feedlot situation.
So you're telling me that feedlot cattle are not healthy for us to consume?
Yes, exactly. In fact, the meat produced in feedlots have higher calories, saturated fats, and fewer omega-3s. So when you consume this feedlot meat, you have a high risk for cancer, heart diseases, and other health problems. Range cattle are allowed to exercise to produce lean muscle, not mass-produced fat. They're away from their waste and are allowed to exercise.
So
These are some of the solutions to only some of our problems. They do not completely solve the problem of greenhouse gases. So I feel that we need to take a more drastic approach. As I look at it now, we have increased our greenhouse gas layer by 30% above the normal range. And in the past 15 years, our beef consumption has increased by 33%. I see a correlation between the two. And with a look into the future, we are going to increase our damage to the environment by not changing these destructive ways.
In addition to the environmental harms that feedlots are causing, we must be looking for ways to make the diet of the American consumer healthier. This means that we are either to reduce the amount of meat we eat or completely abandon eating beef at all. But this will reduce or altogether fix the problem caused by feedlots.
If we get rid of feedlots, it would not only remove the tastiest meals we have, but it would also be damaging to other industries that rely on beef byproducts. To keep up with the high demands of tasty, tender beef and beef byproducts, feedlots are absolutely essential.
Well, we definitely have seen both the pro and the con side of feedlot production. I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming in on the show today and giving us some insight on what is currently happening in our beef operation and showing us how important the protection of the environment is